Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video talking about, is it becoming increasingly more difficult or easier to survive in the zombie apocalypse Walking Dead universe? Alright, awesome. So this was another viewer requested topic. Topic came from you guys in the Q&A video. This is one that as a question I thought was good enough to dedicate an entire video to and for me to give my thoughts on. So is it more difficult or less difficult to survive in The Walking Dead Season 4 halfway through versus The Walking Dead Season 1? Well, I think that this is a kind of a complicated question, kind of a complicated topic, because at the beginning, here's the thing. I think at the start, it is extremely difficult to survive in a zombie apocalypse like The Walking Dead, especially if you're in a major city like Atlanta or something like that. I mean, being in that location is insanely dangerous. You know, having that many people in and around, and thus becoming that many zombies, becoming that many walkers. I think fresh turned walkers are more dangerous than walkers a few seasons later, because after they're turned, their muscles have not decomposed, right, yet. They're still relatively fresh, I guess is the term I would use, meaning that a fresh turned walker is going to be able to move faster than one that is more decomposed. For example, if a walker has been turned and basically had hardly anything to eat for 3 years, its muscles will be totally decomposed to the point that it's barely going to be able to move at all, or move very slowly, and be a lot easier for someone to kill than, for example, a walker like Milton. When Andrea is right in front of him and Milton turns, you know, why is he able to kill Andrea? She's killed so many walkers before. Yes, she was kind of half tied down, that type of thing, and that has something to do with it. But I do think that it makes sense that when a walker just turns, they have not decomposed, so they're more dangerous. They're faster, stronger, all these different types of things, with their muscles more intact. Now that applies to a lot of circumstances at the start of a zombie apocalypse in Atlanta, in and around there that we see the characters in. Walkers would be extremely dangerous at that time, faster, stronger, all these things. And even at the point at the beginning, it seems like their brain is able to function better because, you have walkers that will grab rocks and smash windows. You have Morgan's wife who's turning the door handle, and this is something they've gotten totally away from. Now, you could just say that's a choice of the director and the people that were involved with production at that time versus now. But you could also see it as if they've just freshly turned, their brain is more active, is more intact. Yes, I know you can argue about this because of what Jenner said and the brain stem being active and all that. But I think if you want to logically look at it aside from, the people involved with production as just that universe itself, it seems like walkers that are just turned are a little bit more intelligent than later on because they haven't decomposed as much. So that, I think, is something to say that at the very start it would be very difficult to survive and very hard. But I think that after you get over the initial hump and you find a place that's relatively safe, like the farm or like the camp was sort of, it wasn't well fortified, but it was at least out of the city, so they could at least sleep and stuff like that without having to worry about walkers banging their door down and stuff like that. I think after the first little part, I think in Season 2, for example, and 3, it would get a bit easier to survive once you find a place to be at, like the prison or like the farm, these types of places. It'd be a little bit easier to survive at that time. But then as you get into a couple years, right? So at first it'd be very difficult. Then after the first maybe 6 months, the next year or two would probably be okay. But then after about 2 to 3 years, where we're at right now in the Walking Dead TV series, Season 4, I think it would be extremely difficult to survive because of the fact that you have no food. All the canned food that's around, people have probably already eaten, right? Any survivors that are around are going to raid any kind of grocery stores or, Big Lots or these types of things. It's going to become increasingly difficult to find food. In fact, at about 2 or 3 years, I want to say 3 years, all of the canned food would probably be exhausted in most areas. People will have eaten it all, people will have taken it all and used it up, so there'd be almost no supplies left. So you would have to find another way to get food, which would be extremely difficult. You would have to catch it yourself, or farm and grow it yourself. It would just be extremely difficult. And in addition to the food problem, which of course is a huge problem, also water, any kind of resources basically, other people are going to have taken and used for themselves. So you're either going to have to take them from other people or somehow generate them yourself, right? Food, or even like weapons and stuff like that. You're going to have to either find them from dead survivors that were killed by walkers, who will become walkers, or if they're still surviving and you need them, you're going to have to take them from them or create them yourself. I mean, it would become a totally different type of situation after a few years. Also, other groups would become very dangerous as well, because they would run out of them as well, so they would be trying to take from you. And unless you're on the same side, you'll get a governor type situation with the prison, them wanting the prison and going after it, and then you being there to have to defend it. So other people would become your enemies as well, which would be, again, extremely difficult, because people would be even more dangerous than zombies themselves. And one final thing to add to it is, like we've seen in The Walking Dead Season 4, you would start to see a lot more zombies form into groups of herds. I like the whole idea of a herd where you have basically one walker that will, brush up against something or head in one direction. Then you'll have other walkers that hear that, or that, follow that one walker because they hear the noise or they see it going in a direction. So they, in their simple-mindedness, think that that walker is headed towards prey of some kind, of meat or a person or something, so they follow that walker, and then the others see them bunch up together, so they figure they must be going for some reason, and they join in together, and before you know it, you have a group of all of these following each other aimlessly for no real purpose, just all going together in a direction like a damn force of nature, which we got to see the first sign of. Well, we kind of saw it in Season 2, but in Season 4, on the way to get these supplies, Daryl, Michonne, Bob, and Tyrese ran into an actual herd, which we saw on the road there, which I thought was incredible. And I think in reality, too, that idea makes sense. You would start to see herds, and you better avoid them, or just, I don't know, find a way to get around them or something, or not draw attention to yourself when they come through, because otherwise, yeah, you're dead. So all around, even though walkers are fresh at the start, I think after a few years, oh man, it would become increasingly and increasingly more difficult as supplies run out further and further and further, and walkers join together into herds more and more. They overall, even though they're not as fresh, become even more difficult because of their sheer number, and other groups trying to take from you because they're scarce on supplies as well. So this one's a wash for me. Definitely where they're at right now in the Walking Dead TV series, it would be much more difficult to survive now than it was at the beginning, and I think it's going to become even increasingly more difficult in the future, in a few years from now, and just more and more and more and more and more, unless they form a huge group and are able to become self-sufficient. Otherwise, it'd just be more and more difficult as you go through in a zombie apocalypse. Anyway, that's my opinion on this topic. If you guys have any other topics, please feel free to send them to me in a PM or write them in the comments below. I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace.